What's up, guys? This is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and today is episode 1 of Path to Perfection, the weekly series where I select a deck that I am personally running. We take a look at my main deck, extra deck, and side deck choices, and we just have a little discussion about them for a couple of weeks at a time. So, since this is episode 1, I decided to hit the ground running, and today we are going to take a look at my Seraph Shaddolls and the little changes I have made over this time between now and the original deck profile, as well as some of my choices for the side deck. So, let's get right into this. Alright, so starting us off, we're going to start with the 3-star Seraph Scepter and the 3-star Seraph Sovereignty. Really, I don't have to go over this. This is the Star Seraph build. You should run 3 and 3 because that is the engine, and they're really, really good. Following that, we have 3 Shadow Beast. I have bumped up Beasts from 2 to 3, primarily because now we want to go and grind our opponents down a little bit more than what we usually did. We want to be able to dig for our pieces as fast as we can. So we do have 3 beasts now for that drop power. And even though we do run 3 and it can have the potential to clog, we do have ways to alleviate that issue. So we do have 3 beasts. Next up, we have 3 Shadow Falco. Again, like I said with beasts, we want to have some sort of sustainability in the deck, and Falco really does provide that with its ability to keep getting us back Shadows from our grave so that we can ensure that we never will run out. So we do have 3 Falco now. Moving on, we have 2 Shadows Komata. I didn't change this number, it's still 2, and it still works just fine. Finally, we play 2 more Shadows. We do only play 1 Dragon and 1 Hedgehog. I felt that both of these cards were especially slow this format. Hedgehog and Dragon really don't provide stuff if you do draw into them, so really you only want to just have them in here as a name. So I only have 1 of each just so we do have that name. So yeah, that is it for the 10 monster Shadow lineup. Moving on to the other monsters, we got Triple Mathematician. Again, this is Shaddolls. You really should be running 3 Mathematician, guys. It gets you into anything that you want. Mathematician can become any effect that you might need at any given time, so we have to run 3 Mathematician. Next up, we do run something pretty different from the original build, as that we run 2 Effect Veiler now rather than the Chaos Dragons. I am running Effect Veiler because I called it as more of a meta call in that we need a little bit more spot negation. So I decided to add Veiler in to test it out, really, and it has been doing very, very well, as it doesn't take away from our light fodder within the deck, as Veiler is still a light, so if we need, we can still use Veiler for our Nephilim plays, but in my opinion, it provided a lot more than the baby dragons. As all the baby dragons really did was maybe make some cute rank 4 plays here and there. But Veiler really actually does slow down our opponent much more than what the Chaos Dragons could provide for us themselves. So we do have 2 Veiler now. Next up, we have 2 more monsters. One of them being 1 Pero because this is a Jin out, and finally the 1 BLS because BLS is BLS really. So that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we go with the 3 Shadow Fusion and the 3 El Shadow Fusion. Really, it's, again, standard. You don't really have to go over much of this. You need your fusion plays because this is a fusion-based deck, so we should maximize on the really good ones. So we do have 3 of each. Next up, we do run 1 brand new Soul Charge in this deck. The reason why I have decided to add Soul Charge is because, again, like I said, we want to not run out of our resources, and we want to make sure that we can go into the grind game when we need to. Soul Charge provides this in late game when you will be probably having quite a bit of Shadows in your grave. So Soul Charge allows you to get them all back 1 fell swoop. So we do have the Soul Charge for that, as well as it can also get back your fusion monsters, which is also pretty cool. So if you have like things like Shekinaga or Nephilim in your grave, you can also get them back with this this spell, and they can start putting in work the next turn. So of course we have the 1 Soul Charge for all of that. Finally, we have 3 very good one-off spells. Of course, we have the 1 Raigeki, the 1 Book, and the 1 Foolish. Foolish can become whatever you want it. Book is a great card as usual, and Raigeki it's the same boat. So we do have these spells to round off our spell lineup. Moving on to the traps, we start off with one of the bigger additions for the traps. We have 2 Sinister Shadow Games now. The reason why I decided to bump Sinister Shadow Games into this deck is because now we have 3 Shadow Beast and 3 Shadow Falco. We have the Shadow Games here to act as another sending outlet, so that we can ensure that our beasts do not clog our hands as much as we possibly can get them out of them. So we have the Sinister Shadow Games to do that, as well as if we ever have our set Falcos on our turn. We can always try and get Sinister on our opponent's turn to get our Falcos on our turn, so that we can set monsters from our grave and then possibly fuse our Falcos away during our turn and still get it to reset. So again, as you guys can see, we have that recurrence kind of aspect in this deck now with the 3 Falco and the 3 Beast. So we do have 2 Sinister to help get through those plays too. So we have the 2 Sinister. Next up, we have the 2 Breakthrough Skill, because, again, Spot Negation is really, really good this format. Stopping our opponent's Manjus, Senjus, or Trishulas is always really, really powerful. So we do have the 2 Breakthroughs for that. Next up, one of the new additions, also, we have 1 Crush Card Virus. After a couple of you guys have told me to really try and put Crush Card Virus in the main board, I just did it anyway, just to try it. And I will say that I'm really over the fence with it. It's alright. It's very, very good against Necros, don't get me wrong. It's extremely good against Necros. But there are a few other matchups that I've been seeing that it really has been lackluster. One of them notably have been Firefist. Actually yesterday in my locals, Crush Card it really is an over-the-fence thing that I will be usually siding out against decks if I feel it won't be as effective. But again, against Necros, it is really, really good. So I have warranted to put it into a main board slot just for that. Finally, for the last 2 traps we have the 1 Ring and the 1 Solemn. Solemn is really, really good now because we do not want Denko Seka wrecking our back row, as well as we don't want Key Summons to go off. And then Ring is a simple Jin out, so we should always run it because we never can have enough Jin outs. So that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Not much has changed in the extra deck, but there are, I guess you could say, one big notable change, I guess. But we'll get into that in a second. So we start off with 3 Nephilim. 3 Nephilim, really, this is Shaddolls. 3 Nephilim. 3 Nephilim, really good. Next up, we have the 2 El Shaddol Window. Again, locking down our opponent with 2-1 special summon can really slow them down, especially Satellar Knights. So we have the 1 Window for that. Then we have the 2 Shekinaga to round off our last El Shaddolls. Shekinaga is extremely, extremely good against Necros. So, in my opinion, we should run at least 2 Shekinaga now, just so we can stop all those Necros of Trishula, Necros of Valkyrius, or Necros of Rionic plays that they might go into. Next up, moving on to the synchros, we start off with the big Leo. Leo is still the boss. You usually will be always making this off of Falco and Nephilim, and you will be making him, you will have the opportunity to make him quite often. So we have the 1 Leo. Next up, one of the new cards, we have the 1 Arcanite Magician. Now that we do run 3 Falco and 3 Beast, I have found myself going into level 7 synchros quite often with Falco and Beast. So I decided to put Arcanite Magician back into this deck because, in my opinion, he is probably the best level 7 synchro for this deck, as he provides you with just 2 simple spot-on destructions, which is really nice. It can help your opponent go -1, so that's always pretty cool. Then, of course, we have the 1 Goyo as our level 6, because Goyo gonna steal your game. And then we have the 1 Armades, because poking through Valkyries is always nice. Moving on to the XYZs, we start off with the 2 Star Seraph XYZs that we usually will be going into in the form of Stellar Knight Deltaros and the 1 Evil Swarm Ouroboros. Both are just probably the best rank 4s for the Star Seraphs in my opinion. And I just gotta run them because their effects are just really, really good. Finally, for the last 2 rank 4s, we have the staples. We have the 1 Exciton and the 1 Castel. Exciton to nuke stuff, Castel to spin stuff. Always, always pretty darn cool. Alright, now for the side deck. We start off with the Triple Max C. We have Triple Max C really because, in my opinion, almost all side decks should have Triple Max C for any deck that would special summon to any sort of degree, because it can help you generate advantage over your opponent. So, of course, we do have the 3 Max C. Next up, we have 3 Artifact Lancia. Lancia is here to stop the Infernoid player from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And to prevent our opponent from banishing mirrors for more mirrors or setting up their Necros of Trishula plays. Also, Lancia also helps you with the hero matchup, just so Dark Law cannot banish all your resources, which is really, really bad in my opinion. So we have the 3 Lancia to stop any banishing that might hurt us. Next up, we have the 2 Kaiku, which is for more Necros hate, really. It's here to hate mostly on Necros, but anything that requires banishing is also going to get severely hurt by Kaiku. So we do have the 2 Kaiku to fill in sort of as my Imperial Iron Wall fill-in. Although I'd personally rather have Imperial Iron Wall, I do like Kaiku for the fact that he is a monster, so he does provide more Dark Fodder in the deck to make windows and stuff, which is also pretty cool. So we do have 2 Kaiku in the sideboard. Moving on to the spells of the sideboard, we go into 3 MST because I don't mainboard MST, so I should have them somewhere for all of those back row heavy decks and or floodgate decks. So we do have 3 MST. Next up, we have two Dark Hole, just to add more destruction into our deck whenever we do need it. I usually won't be siding this in against Necros, as I will be siding other things in against Necros, like the Lancias and the Kaikus. But just in case I feel like I might need more destruction against them, I do have the two Dark Hole to fall back on, as well as having this against heroes really can help. Finally, for the last two cards in the sideboard, we do have the two Mirror Force for the Cleafort matchup and the Hero matchup, or the Yosenju matchup if that ever happens, which is, although I'll buy it rare, just still having the Mirror Force in the sideboard just for those moments when you might play a Yosenju player is always nice, because you never want to get blown out by those guys, because God, Yosenju players, ugh. Alright guys, well that is it for this very first episode of Path to Perfection. Again, this series is fueled by all of your guys' input to my card choices and whatnot, so we can have an open discussion about these things. As like I said, I really do love talking with all of you guys about my decks and whatnot. So of course this series is tailored to that. So I hope you all did enjoy, and again, please make sure to leave some comments down below and show your support for the series, so I know I should keep doing it. I guess that will wrap this up, and as always, this is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace.